Ladies and gentlemen, relationships are built on trust, respect, and mutual care. When those foundations are broken, the damage is not just emotional, it affects your sense of self, your confidence, and your ability to trust again. There are betrayals that can be forgiven, but some cut so deep that they should never be overlooked. Not out of resentment, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. When someone repeatedly crosses a line, it's not just a mistake, it's a pattern. And patterns reveal the truth about a person far more than their words ever will. Today, we will discuss 7 betrayals that should never be forgiven. Because forgiveness without accountability doesn't make you kind, it makes you vulnerable to more pain. Let's begin. Betrayal destroys trust, not just the relationship. Trust is not a luxury in a relationship, it is the very foundation upon which everything else is built. It is what allows two people to feel safe, to be vulnerable, and to share their deepest thoughts, fears, and dreams. When that trust is broken through betrayal, it does more than just damage the relationship. It shakes the very ground upon which it stood. Betrayal is not just about the act itself. It is not just about a lie, an infidelity, or a deception. It is about the deeper message that the betrayal sends, the message that says, you are not worth the truth. Your trust did not matter. Your feelings were secondary to my own desires. This realization is often more painful than the act of betrayal itself. When someone betrays you, they are not just breaking a rule or violating an agreement, they are showing you that the bond you thought you shared was not as strong as you believed. They are proving that their needs, impulses, or self-interest were prioritized over the commitment you made together. And once that happens, the dynamic of the relationship is forever changed. Even if you choose to forgive, even if you decide to move forward, something fundamental is lost. The easy comfort of trust, the ability to believe without doubt, to relax without suspicion is no longer there. You begin to question, is this the truth? Will this happen again? Can I ever really trust them? These doubts creep in, and over time they erode the connection that once felt unbreakable. Some people argue that everyone deserves forgiveness, that mistakes are part of being human. And while that may be true in some cases, it is also true that certain betrayals change the nature of a relationship beyond repair. Once you see that someone is capable of deceiving you, of hurting you in ways that feel deeply personal, you can never fully return to the person you were before. The cost of betrayal is not just the pain of the moment, it is the long-term consequence of no longer being able to trust without hesitation. And that is why certain betrayals must not be forgiven. Not out of bitterness, but out of the simple reality that once trust is gone, the relationship can never be the same again. Patterns over apologies. A single mistake can be forgiven. A lapse in judgment, an error made in a moment of weakness, these things, when genuinely regretted, can be understood and moved past. But when betrayal becomes a pattern, when apologies become routine without real change, the problem is no longer about a mistake, it's about who that person truly is. People often say everyone deserves a second chance. But what about a third, a fourth, or a fifth? At what point do repeated betrayals stop being an accident and start being a reflection of someone's character? Words are easy. I'm sorry can be said without thought, without feeling, without any true intention of change. The real measure of a person is not in their apologies, it is in their actions after the apology. Think about it. If someone betrays you once, regrets it deeply, and works tirelessly to regain your trust, that shows remorse. But if someone betrays you, apologizes, and then does it again, that is not a mistake, that is a pattern. And patterns matter more than words. A person who truly values you does not repeatedly put you in a position where you are forced to question their loyalty, honesty, or respect. They do not make the same hurtful choice again and again while expecting you to simply accept their apology. If someone's actions continuously contradict their words, it means their words are meaningless. Trust is not just about believing what someone says, it is about observing their consistency over time. Are they reliable? Do they follow through on their promises? Do they make an effort to ensure they don't hurt you the same way twice? If the answer is no, then you are dealing with a person who is not making mistakes, they are making choices. And when someone shows you over and over that they are willing to hurt you, deceive you, or betray you, it is not your job to keep forgiving. It is your job to walk away. because no amount of apologies can erase a pattern of disrespect. Self-respect over second chances. Forgiveness is often seen as a virtue, a sign of emotional strength and moral goodness. But what many people fail to realize is that forgiveness, when given too freely, can become a form of self-betrayal. There comes a point where forgiving someone repeatedly does not make you kind, it makes you complicit in your own suffering. Self-respect means knowing your worth and refusing to tolerate mistreatment. A relationship, whether romantic, familial, or platonic, should never require you to sacrifice your dignity in order to keep the peace. If someone has betrayed you in a way that damages your trust, your emotional well-being, or your sense of security, the question is not whether they deserve another chance. The question is whether you deserve to put yourself through that pain again. People who betray others often rely on guilt to manipulate them into staying. They say things like, "But I apologized. You're just holding on to the past. If you really loved me, you'd give me another chance." But love is not an excuse for repeated harm. A person who truly loves and respects you will do everything in their power to avoid hurting you in the first place. They will not ask for multiple chances to prove their loyalty, they will show it through consistent behavior. Giving second chances should not be an automatic response to an apology. It should be a conscious decision based on whether the other person has demonstrated true remorse and meaningful change. And in many cases, the most self-respecting decision you can make is to walk away from those who have proven, time and time again, that they do not value you enough to treat you with care. Self-respect means understanding that you are not obligated to rebuild bridges that someone else chose to burn. It means knowing that the people you allow in your life should be those who uplift you, not those who repeatedly hurt you and expect forgiveness without consequence. There is nothing noble about enduring betrayal in the name of love, loyalty, or hope. Real strength is in knowing when to say enough. Boundaries define your worth. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep love out, they are gates that protect you from harm. They define what is acceptable and what is not, what you will tolerate and what you won't. In relationships, boundaries are not just about setting rules for others, they are about setting standards for yourself. They communicate your self-worth, your expectations, and your limits. And when someone repeatedly crosses those boundaries, they are not just testing your patience, they are testing how much you respect yourself. One of the most dangerous misconceptions people have is that love means unconditional acceptance. That no matter how many times someone violates your trust, breaks their promises, or disrespects your feelings, you should keep forgiving, keep understanding, keep giving them chances. But real love, whether it's self-love or love for another, is not about endless tolerance. It's about mutual respect. When someone betrays you and then expects forgiveness without consequences, they are not just disregarding your boundaries, they are telling you that your feelings do not matter. And if you allow it, if you continue to accept apologies without changed behavior, you are teaching them that they can treat you this way without losing your presence in their life. Think of it this way: if you left your front door open every night, allowing anyone to enter, would you be surprised if strangers kept walking in? No, because you've signaled that there are no barriers protecting you. The same principle applies in relationships. If you do not enforce your boundaries, if you keep forgiving betrayals that should not be forgiven, you are sending the message that your emotional well-being is negotiable. Some people will say, "But I love them." Others will say, "I don't want to be alone." And perhaps the most dangerous thought of all, maybe if I just give them one more chance, they'll change. But the hard truth is this: if someone has already shown you that they are willing to betray your trust, and if they have done it more than once, then they are not struggling to understand your boundaries, they are ignoring them on purpose. Setting boundaries is not about punishing the other person. It is not about revenge, anger, or proving a point. It is about self-preservation. It is about saying, "I refuse to allow anyone to treat me in a way that damages my self-worth." And this does not require yelling, arguing, or trying to convince them to respect you. It requires action. Walking away is the strongest boundary you can set. And here's the reality: people who genuinely respect you will never make you feel guilty for enforcing your boundaries. They will not push against them, they will not test them, and they will certainly not repeatedly violate them. The ones who truly care about you will honor your limits, not see them as an obstacle to work around. So, if someone betrays you and then expects you to accept it, ask yourself, what am I teaching them by staying? If you find yourself forgiving the same betrayal over and over again, understand that you are not just being hurt by their actions, you are also being hurt by your own unwillingness to enforce your worth. Because at the end of the day, your boundaries are a reflection of how much you respect yourself. And if you do not respect yourself, do not expect anyone else to do it for you. The cost of forgiveness without consequences. Forgiveness is often seen as a virtue, a sign of emotional maturity, wisdom, and strength. And in many cases, it is. Forgiving someone can bring inner peace, help release resentment, and allow you to move forward without being weighed down by anger. But there is a dangerous side to forgiveness, one that is rarely talked about. Forgiveness, when given too freely and without consequences, does not heal a relationship. It enables further harm. Imagine this: someone betrays you deeply. Maybe they lied, manipulated you, or acted behind your back in a way that shattered your trust. They apologize, and you, wanting to believe in the good in people, decide to forgive them. But what happens next? If there are no real consequences for their actions, if your forgiveness comes without requiring change or accountability, what stops them from doing it again? This is the cost of forgiveness without consequences. It teaches the other person that they can hurt you, apologize, and be welcomed back without truly earning their place in your life. It tells them that your pain is temporary, that your boundaries are flexible, and that your self-worth is negotiable. Many people struggle with this because they confuse forgiveness with reconciliation. They believe that forgiving someone means everything should go back to the way it was before. But true forgiveness is not about pretending nothing happened. It is about recognizing the betrayal, accepting its impact, and choosing what to do next. And sometimes the healthiest decision is to forgive but not to forget. The reality is, some betrayals are so severe that they permanently change the nature of the relationship. A person who repeatedly disrespects your trust, deceives you, or prioritizes their own desires over your well-being has already shown you who they truly are. No amount of words can erase patterns of behavior. No amount of apologies can undo actions that were done deliberately. Many people fall into the trap of believing that unconditional forgiveness makes them a better person, that tolerating pain without expecting accountability makes them wise, kind, or compassionate. But in truth, allowing someone to repeatedly betray you under the illusion of forgiveness does not make you noble, it makes you vulnerable to further harm. Let's be clear: forgiveness should be a conscious choice, not an obligation. It should be given when it serves you, not when it simply allows another person to escape the consequences of their actions. If someone's betrayal has caused lasting damage, forgiving them does not mean you have to trust them again. It does not mean you have to let them back into your life. It does not mean they are entitled to a second, third, or fourth chance. The people who truly value you will not expect forgiveness without accountability. They will not ask for another chance without proving, through consistent actions, that they are worthy of it. And those who take your forgiveness for granted, those who assume you will always take them back, no matter what, are the ones who never deserved it in the first place. So before you forgive a deep betrayal, ask yourself, has this person truly changed? Have they accepted responsibility, not just with words but with actions? Are they making a real effort to rebuild trust? Or are they just hoping to escape the discomfort of consequences? If the answer is no, then forgiving without consequence does not just put you at risk, it guarantees that you will be hurt again. Because at the end of the day, forgiveness should never be about letting someone escape accountability. It should be about freeing yourself from resentment while still protecting yourself from further harm.